based on the commercialization of what you used to do back in the day and the acceptance back in the day.
Okay. When you keep saying back in the day, so I mean, I would say appearance on the Ghanaian entertainment industry or Ghanaian media industry was back in '93 when I believe I was. People think I was a bit older, but I was 19 years old.
Wow.
At that time, I was basically an engineer. I just came to set up equipment, but my boss at that time, Talal Fatal, who owned
Metro TV,
also realized that I was in film school, and so I started working on creative content from Smash TV, TV commercials and things like that. This was some time before. You mentioned the Hiplife. I come in there because there's still this battle between Reggie and Panji as to who
was
owns
the
the Hiplife
originator of
brand
Hiplife,
and
yeah.
this, that, and the other. And we have, I really don't want to get into the middle of it. It's just that I get pulled in. I shot the first video for Talking Drum, which was Bekuti and Abeku, in late '93.
Wow.
And Reggie's Joe I shot in around March '94. So, but that's not the argument. But anyway, that's when I kind of got involved in the music side of things. Then I would go up and down. I think around '96 or so, I decided to kind of stay for a longer period because I was still at school, I was still at university. In fact, the first time I came to Ghana, I had to ask my father for permission.
Wow.
Around '96, we started getting more involved in the music scene. And as you rightly said, I mean, at that time, basically you go to the studio, you would do the song, and funny enough, this space that you're in used to be like a cinema. And the recording studio was there.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of like back here. And Panji was the one who operated it. And you recorded an 8-track or 16-track, and they would mix it. This would be analog. And when you finish, CDs back in '96 were like a novelty. Everything was cassette. Finish. If someone's interested, then you put it on cassette. I mean, they would take it, they put it on cassette, and then they'll put it on the market. I mean, I'm simplifying it, but it wasn't that complicated. And in terms of promotion, there were very few radio and television stations at that time. So you basically had a limited group of people that you could go to publicize what you were doing. Bands were around quite a bit. There were lots of bands that played, events and things like that. But I believe that around '93, the very first episode of Smash TV that I did, I remember playing Daddy Lumba, Bibi Chicho, those kind of songs. So people would say, "Oh, Abraham came and started doing music videos." No, videos were here before I came. So
maybe you brought something different because you're credited. Maybe, and also maybe because of the era, which was Hiplife era, you brought something different, to the production.
I would say that
videos.
The youth were not catered for. And being 19, you know how 19-year-olds are. They think the world is about them. So I just created stuff that I would like to see. So it became like what people kind of latched on to. But it was fairly simple back in the days. Somebody would come to you and they'd say, "Can you help me?" And I never really jumped into the music scene like a producer, distributor, I kind of just enabled artists to do what they wanted to do because I was in a position to help them record, do videos, and I knew people who at the station that would also play the videos and things like that. So I kind of just enabled artists. A lot of the artists that I worked with, General Marcos back in the days, Sammy B, who was a rapper back in the days, even Rutai, Tic Tac or Brafo, who were like our first foray into really putting out something ourselves, specifically as Cyphex Noise Management. which was like 98, 99. But yeah, I mean, it was quite simple.
I like the fact that you brought about the conversation of being drawn every time into the conversation about Hiplife and all of that. How does that feel, you know? Because every time and you're called, drawn in to come and be like, in quote, some judge or some reference point who can actually tell whether it's true or not, that Reggie is the originator or whether he's not and all of that. How does it feel?
The thing is, I feel that as time goes on, information gets distorted. Fortunately, there are some records. I mean, I have some records. I still have the rushes from Chogwe. And I believe I still have the rushes from Ade. And so in terms of the video where I got involved, I know which one came first. But the argument that I hear a lot is who came up with the word Hiplife, who branded it. I would say something. It might be controversial, but I will say something. I don't think it was Reggie, and I don't think it was Panji, because what defines any genre of music is the music itself, is the beat. Reggae, gospel. Gospel isn't a genre.
Yeah.
Reggae is a genre. Rock music is a genre. They are defined. Classical music is a genre. They're defined by the beat. It is the engineer that creates the genre. You can take a beat and put any subject on it. So a subject doesn't define, or a style of rapping or singing doesn't define the genre. It is the music. So I think the person that we really need to look at is Zap Mallet. Seriously, because in terms of who defined the Hiplife sound, because that's what it is, it's the sound. In terms of who defined it, it was Zap who first put out what we now refer to as contemporary urban African or Ghanaian music. It wasn't, you know, yes, Reggie was the one who was on the beat, you know, and Panji was also doing his thing. So yeah, you could put Panji and Zap in there because Panji was actually making beats.
But who coined them? I think his
Coining
argument
the
is
phrase. Aha. Well, that's something that I'm still researching, because Panji says that there was a publication with the term Hiplife in during Panafest 92. So I'm trying to find any publication where that word has been used. But in Reggie's song, it's actually not called Chogwe, it's called Hiplife. The song is actually called Hiplife. My cook was working on that with Zap at Combined House at Matayiko. And Reggie had a producer. You know, Reggie was already kind of like a big hip hop artist back then. He was in a group called PLZ. So he was known. So Reggie had this producer who is not a Ghanaian. He didn't really understand Hiplife, you know, the lyrics. All he heard was Chogwe. And so he changed the title of the song when it was released to Chogwe.
instead of Hiplife.
Instead of Hiplife. But the original song is actually called Hiplife. If you are fortunate enough to have one of the original cassettes, which my cook put out, it actually says Hiplife. Right. So we need to kind of find out whether prior to that there was any use of the word Hiplife or not.
I like the fact that you said that, you know, as time goes on, history becomes distorted. I'm afraid, because even as I sit here, I'm confused, and I'm trying to imagine what will happen after my generation and what information they will have at that time, because it's not clear enough for us, and there's always a back and forth, which we even think is not necessary though.
Yeah, so what I'm doing, I mean, as somebody who was kind of like had first hand, this is not like he said, she said, I was there. I'm working on, and I've done a few interviews, I'm yet to talk to Reggie. And the thing is, let me tell you, the biggest problem with this thing is that there isn't really any entity that's interested in financing real research into creating something historic and say this genre was made in Ghana and this is the history of it. As usual, as Ghanaians, we just let it lapse and we will lose focus and then it will go. We've even allowed Hiplife to have his name changed to Afrobeat or Afropop. So, you know, I mean, so I'm putting something together. I need to digitize some old material onto, you know, so that it can be accessed now. And then I'll make it all available online so people can go and listen to interviews and, you know, make up or at least research that information. But there isn't any, I have to do it myself. There's no entity that says, hey, you know what, let me finance this research or that research, you know. There's nothing, and there isn't that much of an interest in doing that. So it has to be done by somebody like myself who was there, who will have the time and possibly the contacts and the individuals go and put it together.
We hope that it settles the issue and we don't come back with people still, you know, finding some grievances or having some grievances.
Yeah, that's why I'm taking my time. I have, like I said, I haven't put it out yet because we want to make sure. What I'm doing is that I'm letting everybody speak and have their say. For example, I've spoken to Zap, spoken to Panji, Michael, Kwame Fachi. A lot of people don't realize that there were Jegate, the artist, was one of the pioneers. Really? Yes, he was in a group. I believe it was called Taboo with Kwame Fachi. Oh. You know, in 92, 93, and they were doing hip hop. Hiplife. So I've spoken to a lot of those guys. I've spoken to Mike Cook. I'm yet, like I said, to sit Reggie down because we haven't quite arranged the time. He's agreed, but we haven't arranged the time. So I want everybody to talk, then I'll upload everything, and then I will piece together something shorter, which takes a bit from everyone. Because, you know, making a documentary is a perspective. It'll be my perspective, and there will always be someone saying, "Oh, that's Abraham's view." And so I want everyone to have their say first.
Mr. Sagasa, let me bring you in. I'm sure that you and I, we were in there when this all began, and we are always brought into the confusion. Yeah. And sometimes I'm sure you also question yourself that what's the importance about, you know, who made this or who did that and all of that. That
so
comes.
I think I got something from boss, like as he said, like, you know, what's the genre? I think it's created by the producers, because if I don't give you that idea, whatever you sing, I can decide to call it anything. Like, you know, the vocal can be any other thing, but the beat now gives you what you have to do. Because if I give you a reggae beat, you can't say you are going to do hip hop or like bobo on it, because you have to do reggae because it's a reggae beat. So definitely the beat is the one that speaks for the genre, and the artists just feel okay, this is a hip life beat, okay, then let me do something like, you know, this is a high life beat, so that I can sing something like that. So as you were saying, I think it will be one of those producers, either Zap or Panji, that would be, if we talk about who really defines the hip life music. So I think boss is making a point there, but as you know, like, we just need to listen to everybody's opinion very well before we can.
You know, but I like the fact that you took it from that angle. Has it ever clicked you that you're that important to the musician? Because it doesn't look like the musician treats the producer as an integral part of his work.
Somehow, because when they do the thing, they feel like they are the people that bring in the whole vibe to it. But then that's what was with it. If we don't create it as a producer, if I don't create it, your vibe wouldn't have a specific angle. You understand? But then I think we don't really take it from there. You know, we can see a producer, like, you know, giving an artist a hit, but then you see the artist there and the producer at another level, because it's always like we are always concentrating on the artist, forgetting that there are people at the background that giving the real vibe of the whole work. Like, the body of the work is done by those people at the background. So I think it's time that people see the work of the producers and the directors. I met Gio yesterday and he was saying that, oh, they shot a video for, I think, Yale, and when you go to YouTube, they use, oh yeah, this video is bad. Forgetting that there was somebody who directed, created the idea, brought everything, like, only like out of 1,000, there's only 2 people saying, hey, this director be dope. You understand? So the attention is like, it sounds like it was the same artist that dropped the concept, shot the whole thing, like, directed everything, but like, forgetting the person at the background. So it's time that we have to look into that, because I know that most of the things are created by the people at the background, like the producers, the directors and everything, but then those front liners take the whole vibe, like
they take the credit for it.
Yeah.
But back in the day, Abraham, I'm sure that, because I've heard a lot of producers well respected than it is today.
Oh yes, I mean, the thing is, like I keep saying, we'll come back to the same point, which is the fact that we as a people really don't value arts. You know, and so we don't put any resources into preserving it, or even maybe creating a history, you know, that people can go back and look at. it is not that producers are not respected. It is not that they're not acknowledged. You have to understand how the media works. You know, it's if you ask most children about cars, it's the badge at the front. They don't know who came up with the engine and who designed the radio. And, you know, it's the same thing. So with all the work that goes on in the background, what tends to happen is the person who is selling it, the salesperson, tends to become the face. That's the artist. This happens in movies. I mean, we know movie stars more than we know the directors. But there are some producers back in the days, and you know what, I'll come back to Mix My Style because they've done very well in something that we kind of started with the video where we would put our name on. And so people would go, oh yeah, Abraham, famous people, you know, oh,
Godfather.
Look at
Godfather. Godfather. What happened?
I'm on radio.
And you see the radio.
Wherever I be Godfather, wherever.
And Bulldog just
Wherever.
you know, it tells you how much Abraham Mohijan has contributed to the industry. So you were saying, Abraham?
Yeah, they've done very well because back in the days, you know, producers would work on stuff and they wouldn't really put their name in. Zap didn't have a slogan. I know him. I knew his name before. This is the first time I'm meeting him.
Wow.
So the cats right now, they've done an amazing job where they tag the song. They take control of the sound. So people come looking for them. You know, they will, who did this? Who did that? You know, and they will go and then they will get songs done. But back in the days, that wasn't done. It was more, and you have to understand that there was a gradual process from what was the music industry to the recording industry. The music industry was musicians performing live for money. This was before the ability to record and sell, you know, wax records. And so there's this gradual process, but even in that gradual process, you have a time period where certain producers like Quincy Jones were quite well known. I mean, a lot of people know Quincy Jones from Michael Jackson. And Motown had artists that would, you know, write for other artists. So if you go back to Diana Ross and Marvin Gaye, these guys, they would cross-pollinate, but they would be musicians. Stevie Wonder, for example, you know, he would write music for other people. So they would be noted, but it wasn't as prominent as now. So what they've done is really good in that, like what we did with the videos, we put our logo on, you know. They got to a time when stations like TV3 said, no, if you tag it, we won't play it. We want clean.
Because they felt that they were promoting you as well.
But yeah, I mean, at that time it was too late. And the musicians had started also, the producers, you know, the engineers and the producers, had started also tagging their, you know, their music, which is the space that we're in now.
Now let's get to understand, and I have to tell you that we are streaming live on Facebook as well at QFM 92.7. You can share the link and to your friends who can listen to us readily on radio. So somebody somewhere, I love the beat. I want you to work on the beat, and I hear you. So for instance, let's say Bulldog is a musician. His song that
Actually, generally, I think sampling is allowed, but you just have to do it right. And you have like two types of doing this thing, like, you know. Either you are doing, you know, there's a kind of sample. When you sample the song, automatically everybody will get like, okay, this is what it sounds like automatically this song. And there's one that you just play around it and you also get a vibe for it. Because I think most of the times, every beat or mostly the beats or the songs that we do is mostly inspiration from other things, like, you know, from other words that inspires us to like, oh, I just vibe like this, okay, let me go this direction. So definitely you are taking an idea for them. So that's the other side. So if you are sampling for it to sound like the same original song, then you have to do the right thing. The right thing is looking at the legal rights, like contacting the owner of the song, doing every copyright and everything issues on it, and then you bring it out.
When you're contacting the owner of the song, you've had to send an email to an artist before to say that I want to use your beat, I want to sample it.
It depends on the direction you want to, whether if you know the artist or the management, or you have their email, or you have the person's number, or because there are a lot of means for you to contact the artist, through this social media and all that. So that's when you are going directly as what the person is also doing. But I think those ones, we call it like a cover of a song. So you have to know the category that you want to put that sampling under, so that when it comes out, it won't feel like, oh, you are using it like an official song. So that's why you have to do the right thing before you release that song.
And at the end of the day, you still put your Miss Master Gazi on it?
Yeah, so then if I have to do that, then I have to contact the owner of the original song and let him know, okay, this is what we are doing. It's just a cover or it's just a sample of the song. We are not going to take any distributors or take any royalties on it. It's just a cover, like, we like your song and we're just doing a cover already.
Now let me get into, and I'm trying to build a conversation, but since you're here, I don't want to go around this. In the case of Mr. Drew and Rotimi's song, I noticed that Beats That God, or that's the name. That Beats God had his signature on the instrumental.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering, is it the same? They say it's not the same, but it sounded the same. And so at what point was he entitled to claim ownership of the instrumental?
Yeah, with that rhythm, I think it has the same vibe, like they say 90% or 99% of it. So I think this thing happened. Stonebwoy just saw Mr. Drew doing a freestyle on his Instagram, like Mr. Drew is an artist, so he felt like, oh, this song is nice, so I'm just doing a freestyle. So Stonebwoy saw and said, yo, Charlie, let's run this. It's a nice freestyle. I think Stonebwoy didn't know about it.
Yeah, that's what Stonebwoy's part has been clarified. For me, at this point, I'm worried about the beat maker,
so now,
because he has a signature on that beat.
Yeah, so that is the thing that they needed to do before bringing it out. But according to Mr. Drew, he said they did all other issues, or they contacted whoever it has to be. So when you listen to both songs, you can see that the rhythm of the song is exactly like the original song, and the chorus itself also is exactly. That makes the beats look exactly. If the rhythm of the song changed, the beat might sound the same, but then the rhythm wouldn't draw attention to the original song. You understand? Because whatever Mr. Drew sang was exactly like the chorus was exactly to it. So it's in that case it brought attention to the beat itself. But the beat has a different. It was just a sampling of the beat, because most of the rhythm.
Sampling.
Yes, because you can use a rhythm.
But I thought with the sampling, you just said something, and I remember it says the sampling you can do like like just four bars. Four bars, yeah. But this one exceeded 4 bars. It was for me as a layman. It felt like it started to be like stealing somebody's beat and still putting your name on it.
Exactly. It was like, that's what I'm saying. It was the chorus that, because when you listen to Stonebwoy's verse, you wouldn't get the direction of the original song. You might not even pay attention to the beats, that it sounds the same. So the whole song made the whole thing sound, and that is what Mr. Drew is saying. So automatically, me being a producer, I have to play the same thing for you. That's what happened. That's why it makes everything sound the same. But when you listen to Stonebwoy's verse, it has a different direction. Your mind will not really be on.
Go back to Rotimi's song. Very soon we'll play. But before I bring Bulldog and Rick in, Abraham, there's been that conversation.
I mean, the laws are still there. I think it's that comprehension is the issue. So let me try and explain to you. There are publishing issues related to this, and there are sampling issues related to this. There is nothing wrong with you creating a rendition of something. You are also going to, if you take somebody's song and you replay it, the music, and you take the same lyrics and you do it, nobody can stop you. The only time that you can be held to account is if you start to generate revenue from that. Now, you have also added a certain level of creativity, because even the way you are singing it is different from the recorded material. So doing a rendition is allowed. When Gundam Style was a big hit, so many people created different versions, and you didn't need to get hold of side. If you sample a piece of music, sampling is different. That's when you've taken a recorded material, because copyright works in two ways. There is the written material. That's something that's like the drawing of the design. And then there's the design itself, which is the creative work. If you take that creative work, you're taking somebody's creativity. That's different. You can, though, borrow the design and rebuild, which is what Mr. Drew did. They redid the beat, so Beat God had the right to put his name on. There was no reason why he couldn't. The lyrics of the songs are different. There are sections of the song that feels like there are samples in it. But I believe from the interviews that I've heard that they were creating a rendition of a song. This song had 20 million views. I don't think you could get away with, just doing it and think that nobody would know. This isn't anything new. People redo songs of other people all the time. Creativity is built on creativity. So even the fact that, we have a lot to do with YouTube, so I know about this takedown issue wasn't done by YouTube. It was done by the content manager that handled the and they would have used, because it would have tracked. What YouTube does is that it would track, and you have options. You can allow the material to be on if it's yours. Let's say I take your song and I put it on my channel, and you load up your song. You have an option to either block my video, which is to take it down, or you can leave it on because maybe I already have 1 million views, so it looks good on you, and the adverts which go on, the revenue comes to you. So you don't need to take it down. And usually that's actually the best way, because when you take it down, your new upload starts with a 0 count.
Yeah.
So that's the way that system works. Now, if something is very close, if you take a sample of a song and it's past a certain duration, and I think legally it's about 4 seconds or something. I'm not sure, there are people that know much more about this than me, but the system will track, and then it'll tell you this song contains an element of. Again, you have the right to, leave it up and let ads go on so you claim the revenue, or you can ask for it to be taken down. It didn't need to be taken down, and I believe that Mr. Drew and Highly Spiritual Music had already made it known that this was a version of something which was already fairly popular. This wasn't an obscure song. If you looked at it, it has 20 point something million views. So, and it was different lyrics as well. So essentially what they did, they replayed.
But I think the chorus was
That's where the
very
samples
similar.
are. We have issues like this even in Western music. Ed Sheeran is in court for Thinking Out Loud with Marvin Gaye. I forget I think it's not Sexual Healing, it's another song. But it's very similar, and that's still in court. He actually had a second case with another song, which supposedly that one he's supposed to have taken the song. But if you use somebody's lyrics, like you go and redo Daddy Lumba's song, you're quite free to do it and put it up.
Really?
Yes.
But I've had cases where people have done Pat Thomas's rendition. I think TikTok sat in the studio and
Man,
told
you
us.
never believe in my style. I did that sample for
Okay.
you. We sampled the song. That's different. I sampled a creative job. So I took the cake that was made, I took a portion of it to go and add it to my cake. So that's different. But if I just took the lyrics and had TikTok do a chorus, I would have only had to pay for publishing. That's where publishing comes in. That's the design. So the written song, anybody can sing it. If you start to generate money, then the revenue from whatever you're doing, some of it is split and given to the person who wrote the song. So this can apply to written music, or it can apply to lyrics on a song. So in this case, there's also giving credit. So if you sample something and you give credit, sometimes that can give you a little bit of a leeway. You don't necessarily have to go and chase up the artist. It's not possible for you to go and chase certain big labels. If you do you can do a version of Michael Jackson's song, right? It's going to be very difficult for you to chase the estate. But if it's a version, you can find out from the publishing, especially if you're going to generate revenue from it, who owns the publishing rights, and then you pay through that system. Unfortunately, our industry over here isn't that well organized. And recently, Kaboom, one of my boys, had an issue with Rocky Down.
Rocky Down.
Okay. And I explained to him that really he didn't need to come and ask permission from the Frimpong family. It's a song that's out there. He can do a version. Then his label, realizing that they're going to generate revenue from that, will have to find out who wrote the song, how much of the song has been used lyrics-wise or in terms of the musical composition, and what they have to pay. Then it goes through a publishing system that then sends the money to whoever owns the rights to it.
So in this case, if I get what you've been telling me so far,
No.
even though Rotimi
But
felt
I
that
think it was good for him because it's brought him right into the mainstream. So whether they pulled it down or not, I mean, it's giving him, they say sometimes bad news or every cloud has a silver lining. He's gotten a lot of attention from it, which I'm really, really happy for him because I'm a big fan of that boy and
Creamy?
Yes, like Creamy and those guys. I like those guys. I think they were having a real tough time breaking through. And so it's good that, you know, it's sad that they pulled the video off. I don't think he should worry about it. I think he has a bright future ahead. I think it was a bit malicious. I don't think he should have come down. I mean, they could have just placed ads on it and taken the revenue. It wasn't necessary to put it down.
But I thought that the taking revenue aspect was what the problem was, commercial, and that was supposed to be the case.
On YouTube, it'll go automatically back
to Rotimi's team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Bulldog, you are a music people
one.
opportunities,
Yes.
so that's beautiful.
Yeah.
But what normally is the format for you? Having worked with a lot of artists, how do you go about?
It depends. I mean, the formats are a lot. I could hear something, and I'll call the producer I work with, or the artist could hear something. So let me give you an instance of one of our, I'll say our biggest song that broke us through, or broke me through as a manager, African Girls.
Bye.
Yes. So I went to the studio to pick up a song from Apietrus, and the song had Samini on there. It was a remix of an original song that we had done, or a remake, you know, and Apia was delaying the song, so I've been there going back and forth for like almost 6 months. Then at a point he says he wants to use the song for his compilation, you know, so I said he was going to record other songs to replace it for us. So myself, him, and this guy used to do raga with
Barowski?
Yes, Barowski. So when Apia's came, we were going to buy food, and Apia was just playing music in his car, and I heard our Kelly song. Oh, he's got some song like that. You know, yeah. Burn it up, da 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 da, yeah. You know. So then, previously I told Apia released a compilation, the first one, with Ebo. And there's once, twice, and then there was a rapper on there, and I'm like, yo, probably he's a better rapper than this guy. You know, but you know, I discouraged Papi from doing English, because at the time it wasn't that, you know, people were not buying it, so you should do concentrate on Ga, you know, and Kili will do the tree. So I always have that argument with Apia. Then that day when we had the song, I'm saying, you see beat like this, my boys will kill him. I say, oh no. Barowski is more, you know, dancehall, and if he jumps on it, you know. So we went back after buying the food at Control. I think Sahara, yeah, he works at, he's in Sahara, so we went to Control. So we came back to the studio and started cooking the beats, and he gave it to Barowski to go and do the song. So I left the studio. 2 or 3 weeks back, I went into the studio to follow my stuff up, and he said, oh, Charlie, I give the beat to your boy, I mean, the thing you do, I know, like, so I think that originally the beat is yours, so come and take it. So you see where the rhythm came from. So I took the beats, came home, called Papi. I said, listen, I have something for you, kill it. So I gave it to him. The next day he's in my room singing the chorus. And I'm like, no, this cannot be an original chorus. You stole it. Yes, because it was so good, you know, it made sense. You know, and we started searching, you know, realized no, it was original, so we started doing the verse. You know, Giojo did the verse, sang the verse. So we started, myself and Papi started writing the verse up. He did his rap, and we called Kili, he also did his hook. Then we went to the studio to record. So it can come from any angle. It's inspiration, you know, and you can also listen to someone else's music. You know, I don't want to delve into the Drew matter because my boss, you know, when Abraham speaks, nobody should speak. Because he knows the job. Trust me. I mean, my very first, and I'm thankful to him. I mean, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. Trust me. He shot African Girls without taking a dime.
Wow.
And he didn't only direct or co-direct, you know, Stip direct. He allowed Stip to direct. Stip is young. You know, he allowed Stip to direct. And that's how selfless he is. And he was the one behind the camera. Was on the floor making sure the shots are taken, Charlie. I mean, I remember the first diabetes. He was like, oh, Steve has spoken to me. I don't want to do something. And I swear, I mean, boss, God bless you. I don't. These are the people who should celebrate. I'm telling you. And he's changed how we look at visuals. He's responsible for changing that. Every person, every video you see today, that's his grandbabies.
I'm really, really proud of the way the visuals.
New ones, yes.
Like, I think that the generation that always comes behind you should be better.
Yeah.
And honestly, when I look at people like Nicholas Say and all these guys, I'm like, wow, these kids are amazing.
Yes. And if you hadn't brought that revolution, I don't think they will be here. So we always give you thanks. I'm telling you. I mean, mention everybody on Bradford, Tiny, they know. I'm hoping he'll have enough life so that we can celebrate him properly, one day. And we all need to do that because he's I don't know. He's something else.
He brought some light in.
Yeah.
So, boss, how do you use this example, like the same 5 road, there are some because you see it has the vibe, but then
it brought a lot of issues. There were issues about sampling. There were issues with Mujibaya.
Okay, so Mujibaya is totally different. The reason here is that Apietus took 4 bars of the original instrumentation and replayed it, added some stuff, so he changes it. Now the melodies the boys sang on it were different.
Exactly.
Unfortunately for Mr. Drew, he sang the same thing only in a different dialect. And for me, I was hurt because he's done it before with Kel songs. It's just that's all. If it wasn't for that, the thing he did was cool.
And even now, the later that he has with Kelvin Boy, Yalbek is accusing him of. Yeah, he said he wrote it. You should give him the credits.
But they're in the same camp.
No, they're no longer in the same camp. So
Yeah.
Yalbek has moved from highly spiritual. Kel Songs has also moved from high. No, they're no longer friends.
Wow.
So what is happening is that Primi
that I
and
find really sad.
Primi and Mr. Drew are the only ones who are.
Other people. I mean, it's not new, but you have to give credit. It's important. It's actually part of the way you can kind of put your material out. If somebody has written something, it's only right to do. But there isn't that much space. I mean, an engineer and a producer can put his name on, but the writer ordinarily not. Nail writes for a lot of R&B artists, but he doesn't get credit. And it happens that a lot of the gospel music you hear is written by other people who are not famous. Even some of the songs that you hear in the mainstream are written by other artists for other artists. So I think now this idea of I wrote it, I want to claim it may be something new because our system is changing. People want credit for what they've done. But back in the days, I mean, even with Hammer, apart from the fact that his signature was so strong, you knew this was a Hammer beat. He never really, I mean, for somebody who was very flamboyant and actually led his boys like a commander, he wasn't really too much about give me credit. He wasn't like that. But now it's changed. Everybody wants a bit of attention.
Which is quite important for a lot of people. Ricky, you haven't said anything so far. I'm sure that you followed.
Use it and think that they can generate revenue from it and not give you any. But legally, and it exists here, we actually have all these laws here, they're just not being used. If you sample Pat Thomas, or you sing, and a rendition is not just when you do it rough with you can take Bob Marley and go to the studio and do Woman No Cry with an amazing engineer. Your version, that's your cover.
What makes it your version? Because if the words are same.
Now, the reggae beat behind it might be different, it could be the same. The lyrics are the same. What it is that you have added your voice. You've added one small layer of creativity. An engineer and a producer have also added their small layer of creativity. They haven't sampled the song. What they have done is create a version of the song with their voice, their fingers pressing the keys. And so there is a mechanism. If you are going to sell it, if you're not going to sell it, there is no legal issues with that.
What are you, if you're not going to sell it? Let's say if you're not going to sell
Generate
it.
revenue from
No,
it.
but whichever, regardless, why then are you doing it? What's the purpose?
It's a copy. You see, it's in the public domain. It's called public domain. When you create any piece of work and you put it out, it's in the public domain. So, for example, if you are doing something to do with, you see when you watch YouTube and you watch movie reviews on people's channels, they take elements of the movies. Because it's in the public domain, YouTube has this system that says fair use.
Yeah.
Right. That's what it's about. But you cannot take 15 minutes of the film and say fair use. That's not right. But you can take small elements and say, so you can take some visuals from something for fair use because it's in the public domain. Right. So what I'm trying to say, you're not wrong. What I'm saying, you need to separate out emotions from what legally you can enforce. That's different. There are, and it's not that our laws are not here. Let's not make that mistake. We have copyright laws in Ghana. If you feel that you have a case and you go to a lawyer and you say, hey, Abraham sampled my song. I can hear the sample. He actually took a bit of my song and looped it. And it's beyond, maybe it was 3 seconds. Or, I don't know, I think it's 3 seconds, 2 seconds, whatever. And I've looped it. When you go, everybody will say, oh yeah, he has. I can hear your song. But the lawyer will tell you, legally he's allowed to take 2 seconds. So you don't really have a case. You can scream all you like, but you don't have a case. Because what I've done is take 2 seconds of your material, which is legally allowed, and created something new based on your creativity. Do you understand? So you cannot take me to court and say, pay me money because you've taken 2 seconds, because legally you are allowed to do that. But if I take 6 seconds or 4.2 seconds and you can prove it, then the law says, yes, he took 4.2 seconds. We can sue him for sampling. So you see, in a situation where you visibly have taken a sample, but in one situation, the lawyer will tell you, you don't have a case. In another situation, they say, yes, you have a case. The same thing with lyrics. The same thing happens with lyrics. And written music like notes, the same thing can happen with it. So we have the laws. You need to separate out emotions from it and say, okay, what is the case? What has he done? Did he use the lyrics? Did he sample the music? Did he replay it? Did he use a melody? What is the legal case that you have? Then you go to court. When you go to court and you can prove it, then you have your results, giving whatever you do.
Before I let us listen,
I think it's rather sound like my own beat that I've maybe played for somebody.
Here in Ghana?
Yeah, like
Oh,
maybe
that's
anywhere.
sweet. So
like,
how did you handle
like
that case? Because this is you and your colleague.
Yeah, so I'll say, basically it's me, and it's something that is my mind. So it will be something that I've played, but I forgot to say, okay, I played this thing in this song, this particular song. So it just came in mind, and as I was playing on the keys, it just came in and I played. So, but so far as it's from the same producer, then it's me. I think that one is not a bit like it's not like a major problem, because when this artist here and this artist here, so it was all produced by the same person. That one is that one is somehow cool. So you see, that sample is still allowed, but then it depends.
So what you're saying now is that you maybe, for instance, play the beat for artist A.
Yeah.
Artist B hears it and says, I want a similar thing,
Yeah.
and you still pick some elements from that A,
That one
and
for
then
sure.
you pick, you add to that.
That one
Can't
for
that
sure.
artist come and say, I paid, like we had a case, for instance, with ZTM and Miss V.
Yeah, so you see, that is where it comes in. If there's also the artist B has a different lyrics and like a different song direction, but then maybe the beats, there's a tone in that sounds like, oh, this tone sounds the same, it sounds the same here. You might hear the tone, but then definitely would be like a 4 bars of it for me to just loop it. Would it be like almost like 12 bars or something? It would be like just a 4 bars for me to just loop it. So yeah.
You see, there's another thing that a lot of people don't realize. Earlier on, we were talking about, one of the biggest problems in this country, which as yet has not, really emerged, and it will soon, is who owns a song. Because a lot of our musicians actually go into the studio only to perform the song and be a voice. The music actually belongs to the producer.
The beat,
Yes.
Yes.
Because
the music, the beat.
you
Is it
cannot.
a beat
That's
or
the
the
music. No,
That's
that
the
beat
music.
is
That's the music.
music.
Music
Yeah.
comes in three.
Yeah, not just
There's the
the beat.
written music. That's like if you can you write actual like notes?
Can you just
Right. So you can
No,
put
that's
notes
what
on
it's
paper
Yeah.
that describes
About
the
it.
music.
No.
Right? Then there is the lyrics, the words that are spoken on the music, and structure of how the music is actually put together is also something. Now, two of those belong to him. But when they make a song and they take money for it, what are they taking the money for? Are they taking the money for allowing you to sing on their song, on their music that they've created in the studio? Or did you go there and direct him and say, play pom 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 and add push 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 to it? Who owns that? You see, and as yet, we're talking about a lot of very, I mean, these are the low-hanging fruits. But if we get into this in real detail, we're going to have issues with so many songs that have come out. And the users might say, hey, this is my beat.
Yeah, exactly.
I did this beat. You just came to sing on it. I took money to allow you to sing on it. You're making money, you're performing, you're not giving me any. What's my percentage?
But
also-
I think okay.
Do you know, like, if I produce a beat and Bulldog write the song for the artist, basically me and Bulldog own the song. The artist doesn't even get anything.
Yeah.
But that's not what happens.
No, they
No,
get
they
some-
get
they
some- they get
for their
Performance. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
they
their
get
performance.
some-
But like when the product itself, when you go in, like registering, it's like the
For everyone
authors of
to
it.
be-
all
Yes.
It is me and the writer.
The funny thing
We
is,
might-
the person that gets the most is the writer.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the case here in Ghana.
No, it's
Because
it is.
some people,
It's the
because
case
some people
everywhere.
don't register people. So for instance, Bulldog with the song, I go to register the song, and sometimes there's always not a contract.
There isn't. Where are the contracts between? This is one of the biggest problems. You mentioned Kewa and Carl Songs. Me personally, it's a secret. All the artists that I've helped, all through, I have never sat with any of them and signed them to anything. You stay because you want to, because it was not my primary business. I think only 2 artists signed a contract, and only because we had to do an endorsement deal for them. Tic Tac and Obrafo for Ashford.
Yes.
I think it was the very first endorsement ever done in Ghana for any artist. But apart from everybody, from Tiny, all these, Hammer would bring his artists to me. Oh, you stay. I will try and help you get there. If you know you're happy, you stay. If you're not, you move on. That's how it's always been.
But you regret that you never did
No,
go.
I don't. I don't. The thing
Is that
is
you
that
had too much
in our-
money?
No.
Yes.
No.
Because I'm
Well,
wondering
our-
how you were, benefiting from all the things
I
that you were
think
putting
that's
in.
okay. It's a philosophical thing to me. I believe that as a human being, your existence should be a step on a ladder for others to who come behind you. You understand? I think you should live your life not to become like a pothole in the road, but actually like an extension of the road, so that the people coming from behind you can get further.
Right.
That's how I see the world.
Right.
Okay, so you try and help. I mean, how much will one be? How many roofing sheets will you sleep under? I mean, if you have the resources to help somebody get somewhere, maybe someday they'll say, oh, thank you. This man, sometimes I want to call him and tell him off. But still, this is my guy. And it's not because of anything, but he's here. Because he wanted to take a step, and I was there to, hey, why not? Let's help out. There's a time I think the last video we shot together was for I1 and me.
Yes.
Went all
Yes,
the way
to
to
Ada, yes.
You know, that's how I think if you can help, you can help. But back to my point, a lot of the activity in our music industry is handshakes and very light agreements. Now, if, excuse me to say, the shit hits the fan and people start demanding their percentages of hit songs that they've made, written, played trumpets on, played guitar, or Dikro would make so much money because he would go into studios and play guitars on people's songs and then just leave, take a little bit of money and leave. But in actual fact, he's added something which gives him a perpetual interest in a song. A producer doing a song, in America you do a song in the studio, the producer has an interest, the writer, people who contribute to it, all have an interest. You have to credit them, and if there is a mechanism to pay them, you have to pay them. So you cannot just take it And then when you go on stage to perform it, it's different. This is where the recorded material is different from the written material. Let's just say Lauryn Hill. It's another case. You can look it up online. Her Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, she can't perform the songs, or she doesn't perform them as they are, on the CD, because there are issues around copyright to do with it. So she goes on stage and she performs the written material in her way. At that moment, she's going to pay the instrumentalist who replay the music at that time. And it's not recorded and sold. It is performed there in the air and it disappears. And everybody involved in creating that musical piece, that creative piece, gets money, including herself. If somebody then records that onto video, that new performance, and puts it somewhere and generates money, they have to go back to Lauren and give her some money and everybody else who helped create that thing. So when you go on stage, it's a whole different, you are doing a rendition of your own song. If you're an artist and Obrafo goes on stage, a song done by Hammer, and this guy has his voice on it, Manche, they all have an interest in that recording. That's the recording. But when he goes on stage, he doesn't use Hammer's beat and, let's say a live set. That day, if nobody records it and doesn't go and make money from it, that day, whatever money he makes, those bandsmen will be paid for their performance on that day, and he's getting money for his vocals on that day. But the recorded material has Hammer's intellectual input, has Manche's intellectual input, his intellectual input. That's a packet. So whatever comes in, even if it's $1, somehow should go spread to everybody. So the sale of that should spread to everybody who is involved in that recorded material. There's a difference between that recorded piece and a rare performance of it.
Okay, so now let's go listen to the Rotimi Mr. Juve and try to see if we can do the Kwame Eugene and I always have a difficulty with Diabati, and that's Sidiki Diabati. It's from Burkina Faso, right?
That's a huge lie.
And later on, he's
So
got to
it
apologize.
takes- yeah, whatever, that's right.
Yeah, but I think if there was no
Yeah, but I'm
comment-
saying that's what.
What triggered the
Exactly.
reaction?
Exactly.
well, I think it's.
But
it's
is it
overshot.
fair also that that verse that he's put on it, which is an original verse, the tone doesn't have anything taken
Kill
from
him too.
Rotimi's,
CD baby.
CD Baby, there's this one that DistroKid. And you're all over the place. You put it on DistroKid, within a few days, you go on Amazon and you type up your name and your music is available. You go to Apple, anywhere, So once you put music on these platforms, you are generating money. And so therefore, you have to.
So is it false? Because I felt it was trying to insult our intelligence by telling us that he didn't intend to make money from what he had posted. Because
that's a mistake.
Either he didn't know
That's
what
the
he
error.
was saying
No,
or it's insulting.
But as far as I'm concerned, on YouTube also, there's an option to either take monetize it or not. There's that
Exactly,
option.
yeah.
So if you say
and
it's because
that's
there's
why he's blaming his publisher.
No,
that the
that's-
publisher
But
didn't-
what
that's
is
a lie.
monetization? We shouldn't look at it digitally. Once you put something out publicly, you're hoping to make some sort of
Exactly,
money
yeah,
out of it.
yeah.
So whether it's you're going to be called to do a performance, you're still going to make money out
The
of
thing
it.
is that legally, because you are a professional artist and you've done something so high profile, whether you're giving it away or not, it will be attached to it. If you go to
Yes.
court, there's no way you can argue that I'm not making money from it. You will go on stage and perform it. You will do, so
He was
you can't-
actually my surprise was he was actually updating us on the numbers he was getting. So 100,000 views in 3 days,
Listen,
150,000.
he
So I
didn't-
asked him, what's the essence of celebrating the numbers? Because the numbers is what translates into money if I get it right.
Yeah, but
No,
sometimes
No,
it's not always.
It's not.
Okay.
Okay, it's this. Let me tell people, it is not the views on the video.
Okay.
It is how the advertiser targets. So if the video attracts adverts, then you get revenue. But the video can play 1,000,000 times
And still not have any
and not
adverts on?
generate. You will get a small nominal amount of money for the fact that it's being viewed on the YouTube platform. But if no one is targeting it, nobody's targeting, your kind of music or targeting any adverts towards it, you will not make any money. But you could have something on that only has 10,000 views, but possibly maybe it has cartoons or something, and there's lots of targeting of kids material on it. It can generate $100 to $300 just on 10,000 views. So it doesn't quite work. It's not about views. It's about who's targeting.
So let me just, once we are learning, who determines your video as a target? Is it the back end people?
You, for example, when you put something on, these days you have a button to promote. So you load up something and then you want to promote it. You now become an advertiser. You will then go through a set of criteria that allows you to pick Ghana, just target. You can actually just target Accra. It's actually that detailed. You can target Accra, you can take out certain age groups, people with a certain interest, so you do all of that, and then you publish, and then obviously you pay, and the ads show up when people go on YouTube and they're watching. As soon as they click a video, then somebody else comes in. So when we do it, for example, we target people interested in music. So if you're doing something to do with teaching, and you have 1 million JSS 3 kids watching you, but I haven't targeted any teaching material, you won't get any ads. And considering if I was the only advertiser in Ghana, then you wouldn't have any ads. But somebody who has put on a music video that has only maybe 50,000 views will be getting all my ads. So that's how it works.
Now let's quickly go on the phone line and speak to a PA2. And you don't have a new post. What you're going to talk about?
Oh, okay.
So I should not.
But we are in it together.
But you're the boss.
No, I'm not a boss.
Well, who are you?
Chief servant.
Making all the money. Please tell us why you have visited us today.
Well, I heard a bulldog up there and I said, okay, let me come and give him information as an artist manager. From 1st July, we are making sure that every music video on TV, as per the classification law, should be classified. So please tell your artists to submit their works to the classification committee. The office is at the Attic, Attic, there's a great fat house office at Attic, just opposite African Police. If you take it there, from 15th June, the office will be ready. You fill the necessary forms, you submit your works on pen drive, and then it will be classified and handed to you. And to the TV stations like TV3, from 1st July, whatever you put on air, please make sure that it's classified. The works are not.
Will we have
Please.
like the FDA has a voice on every ad?
No. It will come with the classification logo.
Oh, you have a logo that will come.
So we will give to the content owner, and they will put it there, whether it is you or PG or 18.
Okay,
some
so
of
that
the
we know
music
what
videos,
time.
some of the music videos,
Okay.
you should know what time to play them. It's simple. We are not a censorship office or censorship board to decide what should be in your video or what should not be in it. No. We are not a censorship office.
So why do we have to bring our work?
Wait first.
We are a classification.
So you are classifying.
We are classifying
That's
as to
it.
which audience should see
Is
what
another
you
The I'm sure one of the biggest problems for a lot of people, even when it came to the censorship board, was the timing. When you submit your work, how long will it take to review and give you approval? How long are you going to be doing this when
See,
people submit their works?
Unfortunately, people have not been reading the law. And I'm surprised since we came out with our first announcement. Everybody is asking what is it about. And I'm surprised because these are industry people. And the law is
So you're
about
spread
the industry.
at Bulldog. You answer Bulldog. You answer me first before
Did
you.
I ask him whether I've asked him?
But you ask him a question and that's
No,
what
the question is, I'm asking that why should me?
You are
The
in a
context-
radio station, so you speak into the mic.
Hey.
That's how you do it.
when you meet
Listen. Whatever I produce, I'm going to put on the internet. And on the internet, yes, they have their own sort of whatever material rules and classifications.
Yeah.
So if I can't put porn on the internet, they'll bring it down.
Yeah.
So why the hell? It depends on where. So why the hell do I bring you to you?
Before.
before you classify for me, then I bring it to TV3 to show it.
No.
So go to TV3.
Yes,
when you
go
see
with
them,
the media houses.
thank you. When they are showing you, tell them not to play at that time.
Yeah.
This is another scheme of this government to steal money from our pocket. That office is useless, and I'm telling you, and that Tornado and other people, you are thieves.
And for your information,
You.
if there is anybody, if there is anybody who plan to steal money with this law, then it is Mahama, because he passed the law.
No,
This law was passed by
No, it's not about
in
the law.
2016.
It is the office.
Oh.
You have been running around. Listen, no. The reason why I'm angry at this man is he's been running around all this while without a portfolio. He fought. Listen, I am telling you, he fought to make sure this government will come into being. And they are here. Let me talk. Let me talk.
No, if you don't stop this,
No. So to please him, they've created some office to give him money. You want to take our money? You dey lie.
For your information, this office.
No,
For your information, this office is
But
in
I
the
think-
law
I think
that
that's your platform.
your government
Boss.
passed.
We don't
There
care.
has to be a platform whereby even when a video is ready,
Yeah.
you can submit, because
I beg you.
it's also
coming to
technical buying pen drive.
Oh.
It's all also
I
part of
beg
it.
you. That is the law. You take
Which
it to the
law?
classification office.
No,
do what?
now internet is easy. We can just submit it.
For film.
Yes,
We
it's
just need to
digital, so
submit
you
it.
bring it on the pen drive, please.
So
Which
then-
law?
so
What's
then
the law?
you
What
are
does
the
the law say? Let's read the law. If you want to hear the law.
Nah, they stream
so
live,
what
so
do you get?
the cameras are not going
I think it's all well and good because
It's
I've
all well and good.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that side
But
for
let him
me?
continue with what you want to
I've
say.
had issues in the past where I feel the use of guns, violence, even
Exactly.
sex portrayal in music videos sometimes because it's something that's quite mainstream. But I think in implementing, such a law, you also need to look at the environment. It's one of the biggest problems we have in this country and in Africa most of the time. We do not look at our environment and then we implement certain things and then find difficulties with it. Mixmaster has made a very valid point. He said it's going to cost us extra money. It's already expensive making the video. It's going to cost us extra money to come there and get it classified. If this law is going to come into being, don't you think that we need to create some kind of a platform where it's easy for a low-res version to be uploaded and then a form filled online? If it has to be paid for, you put your mobile money in and then it comes there, and then very rapidly within 24 hours, that should be promised, because the artist must release their material. They can't wait 2 weeks. So within 24 hours, somebody goes through these emails, has a quick look and sees that there's no violence or there's violence and it has to be this 15, 16 or whatever, sends an email back and says, this is your classification, please put it on, this is the logo. That would be so much simpler rather than trying to make people bring pen drives that will bring viruses to your machines, will cause problems sometimes when you come there and might not even work. So I think the implementation needs a little tweaking. I agree with it, I think it's fine, but maybe a platform that can receive low-res versions that with a form that you can very easily, or if you like, they should just email it to you. You don't even need to create a platform. They should just email you a specific low-res version to a certain email, and then you get back to them. Simple.
Okay. Even classification is not a new thing in Ghana. Since 1963, there has been classification in Ghana. And it's not a new thing. It's even added on to this new law. Just that now it has been modified. Formerly for TV, it was not stipulated clearly for TV, but now it is there. Good. Your point of us creating a platform is a suggestion. That's which is valid and worth considering. You understand?
You don't even have to create. You just
There's a platform already. Do you know
You
we
can just
transfer?
accept an email.
Do you know we transfer.com?
Yes. It's worth considering. But
Look at the man standing there. Talking about 1960. Wait. Talking about 1963. That is the problem in this country. The framers of the Constitution that framed it way back ago, a long time, it became mess we up. I'm telling you. Listen, there are a lot of things that don't make sense anymore. Standing here to say we should bring pen
he
drive.
said the
No,
competition is
sack this
and
man
you have
out.
to pay.
No, drag him out.
And
This
you have
one
to
taking
pay.
us back.
You have to pay.
Pay for what? Pay for if go and find a job and do.
Boss,
Hey.
You are into 3 years. Wait,
Boss,
I'm not
boss,
finished
Please,
with
please,
you.
I'm muting
You are
your
into 3 years.
I'm muting your microphone.
You have
He
built,
has got
you have
nothing
built
to
your
do.
houses.
He has got nothing.
You
to
have
do
wives.
with
You
it.
have kids. We don't have
Stop
anything.
reading
We won't
me.
give you our money for you to take it to the grave.
But he
What do
hasn't
you
told
mean?
What the money is?
What, Kwan?
I think that Mr. Safo,
Boss,
maybe we have to find
boss,
time.
boss, and also
I was
one
also
thing,
saying, this is-
one thing that we have to know about it, you know, in every production,
You know, go talk.
we have to have some people on board that, okay, right now we have to know the people on board, because when it comes to video, we need to have most of the like top directors on board or working with you guys, because
So that
when
they
you bring a
understand,
video
you know.
and you want to
we
give
have
the
to
tag
pay.
and export it again, it might reduce quality or whatever, because like we like this, when you produce a song and give it to this side people, when they put their tag in and re-export it,
The
so-
quality drops.
so all those things are then now you send the low quality to the TV to play.
That's
So
why
you
I
know,
suggested
so we need to know about it.
You
Beyond
will not
email,
know
beyond
Okay.
that
quick
because
one.
they will need a lot of infrastructure
Yeah,
to
but they still
really.
have to tag.
No,
you see,
no.
they have to-
They will give you the tag.
Miss G,
Okay,
beyond emails.
Don't worry, taking the microphone away from Sophie.
Oh, Miss G, let me say. It's supposed to be on
We
TV.
have other conversations that we have to do.
FDA has done
And
this
we have-
thing.
Bulldog, let me say this.
No, FDA
Wait, I think that-
has done this thing
Let me say this. Let me say this.
before prime time. Don't play any advert.
So
Go
when
back
we
and start.
submit
You can't
our
do
videos to
that.
TV,
Hey.
you give us the
You see,
list.
Miss
You
G.
give us the
Okay.
list.
Quick one.
I-
You see what?
Oh,
You see
you
what?
want you people want use your
Oh,
brain.
Bulldog.
Okay, so at this
You
point,
see what?
everybody's
Miss G, what?
microphone has been muted.
Miss G.
But what we would ask
G, let
that
me
Mr.
talk.
Safo does is maybe
If it is nonsense, people can hear me through yours.
Who let the dog out?
Me let the dog out.
Who let this dog out?
Mr. Safo, so are you joining us next week with a
At 72.
for a comprehensive conversation? Because some
What do you want in life?
concerns have been raised.
On condition that there will be no dog in this.
How much do people have to pay?
Yeah.
I beg you, let me give you all that
You
information.
said 15. It's next week.
You understand? Yeah, I'll give you all that information.
Next
It
week,
will,
yeah?
it will be published.
All right.
You
So
understand?
we'll be expecting
But,
to have
but
you.
please, like I said, this is not a new law. Classification has been there ever since. Just that the law was
Do
revised.
you know the essence of classification?
I beg you, let me, all these questions. Everybody, surprisingly, one interesting thing about what I'm feeling around the industry is the fact that everybody is excited about it.
Really?
And parents,
All this
even
excitement.
audience, I beg you, they are all excited.
Aye.
Audience at home are also happy
We are not
that there's
delighted,
going to be
excited.
some form
There's a
of
difference.
What I wanted to ask, I think,
Easy.
what teeth do you have to make sure
The
that
laws.
TV stations abide by
the law is there.
Okay.
And the penalties and
So
everything
are
are in
so
the law.
can I mean, seeing as and as a parent,
Yeah.
I like it. I am hoping that TV stations will face sanctions for
Flouting.
Everything you see is not a recommendation from you. The law is there already.
Yeah.
I'll share it with you.
But why hasn't the law worked in the past when
Since the law was passed in 2016, the NFA was established in December 20th. And now, 2019, now the classification board has been put in place as per the law that the NFA board should set up the classification committee, and it has been set up, and we've started our work. We put in the infrastructure and structures and everything.
so all media houses will be sensitized on what
Exactly. What we are doing is that now, instead of having one bulk, meeting to announce, we're finding an ingenious way to reach out to them. Example, being here, I know most of the people are listening. We are also visiting the TV stations and having personal conversations with them, and it's working.
You are wasting resources.
It's better than having a mass meeting
Do a better
where they will send
job.
even reps. When we go to the TV station, we are not looking at the reps.
My
Where
last
they-
thing is
Yeah.
that once an entity takes responsibility
They make up.
for something, they are liable. You do realize that,
Oh yeah,
that being in a position to classify,
yeah,
if you are not enforcing
yeah.
this classification on being shown and something happens on television, you could face a lawsuit for not taking.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
But one thing, please, the TV stations,